Good morning, y'all. Happy Monday. It's been a little while since we've done kind of what's growing. We have another big update for today, which is really cool. But we got our large garden up here tilled on Saturday, and then we also have expanded this year. Cover cropped and expanded, and so the soil looks absolutely beautiful. Yesterday we came down and we planted potatoes. Oh, and I keep forgetting labels, but essentially you can kind of tell we have like 3 rows here, and we'll hill those up as time goes on. We planted Yukon Golds, red Norlands, which we planted last year. They did great for us. And then some French fingerlings. We did twice the amount of potatoes this year that we did last year. And so that hopefully will last us quite a while. We will still plan on doing sweet potatoes. This section right here is going to all be corn. And we're planting that next weekend. As far as I can tell right now, we've still got one night in the 30s this week. I believe it's on Wednesday. So that was why we decided to wait until next weekend to plant the corn. We planted 2 rows of onions here. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but so basically it's kind of 2 mounds. You stick and we did onion sets or basically baby onions. You stick them in and they bulb out. But you do 2 mounds, stick them 2 inches down, and you do a trench in the middle and give them a pretty balanced fertilizer, but you want the nitrogen number lower than the potassium and phosphorus. So, and obviously we always use organic fertilizers. As far as the rest of the space goes, we are going to kind of be divvying it out between, I have a cattle panel trellis up there, and so we're going to set that up kind of at an angle, and broad beans will climb up that. And then we're doing bush beans, melons, zucchini, and probably some baby pumpkins. I'm trying to remember if I planted. I planted sugar pie pumpkins, which are not massive, but they are actually good for like making pumpkin puree. So we'll have pumpkins in here. When we pull the garlic out, which will be, depending, late May, early June. It may be mid-June, just depending. Also, my guess is that the German white and the music garlic, which have taken off and done a lot better, I guess maybe are earlier varieties or just more vigorous. We will probably be pulling those out earlier. And then the Nootka rose garlic, which is growing and it's fine, but it's still fairly small. We'll probably, my guess is like late June, early July is when that will come out. But I like the idea of being able to stagger that. That works great for us. Here in the flower beds, I have got many rows of delphiniums, which, I always say, like, I think I left them in the plug trays too long, and I think that I did. However, now they are really starting to take off. They're starting to have good growth on a lot of these, and so again, I'm happy with the fact that I think their harvest is going to be staggered and their growing will be staggered. Sorry, you guys, I'm looking. We had 2 St. John's wort bushes, very small, and I remember like taking the seed pods and kind of just going like this and like letting the seeds, and now I see all over the ground there's like little St. John's wort plants coming up, which is awesome. So I use the variety it's called Hypericum berry, but they're great for like a filler in floral arrangements in the fall. And so that's why they get yellow, red. They're beautiful. They look great with sunflowers. So that's why I grow those. Here I've got younger poppies and I've got larger poppies. And y'all, like, I have tried my darndest to plant poppies in perfect rows. Like, the seeds are so dang tiny. And it is just so, and then when you water, it will push the seeds around also. So, you know what? I tried my best. We will get flowers regardless. I think actually I started to see, I'm trying to remember. There were some coming up making shoots, but that's what they are. Delphiniums. All of this is delphiniums except for that, which is sage. Again, just, I have my kitchen sage down in the garden down there, but this sage will be used for floral filler. One of my tasks this week, I've got a little bit lighter of a work week, and so one of my tasks is to come down and weed my garden because, as you can tell, it is horrifying. But I've got poppies coming up, and then I have snapdragons also that I planted very, very early spring. I started them inside in January. So they're doing great. I've got a lot of work to do in these garden beds. And so, like, this is getting expanded out a little bit. That one will come out a little bit. This one just, again, like, I'm going to let the delphiniums grow and then it needs amended. I don't have anything in this bed until right there, which those are Bells of Ireland. I got a couple delphiniums, just like I had some extra, and so I stuck them in places. But I need to finish off this bed, and then this will be where the China asters go. They're just a beautiful, like, peachy blush color. They're really gorgeous. I had a bunch of seeds that kind of, like, accidentally got blown around, and so they're starting to come up now, which is fantastic. But those are more well established. I can't remember. Did I plant? Okay. These are snowflake snapdragons. So you can see I've got little clusters of them. And I think that is red amaranth. Was in this bed last year. I'm going to let it come up again. Just a beautiful foliage kind of plume thing that comes out the top. This is my Monarda, my bee balm, and it's like a light pinky lavender pastel, really pretty. This bed, again, little clusters of poppies. Right there are my forget-me-nots that I planted. And then over here in this section, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I've got 2 beds that have to go in down here. And I need to get those done because that's where the sunflowers and zinnias will go. Ideally, I would put them up there so they're not shading anything out. But the problem is, like, the delphiniums probably won't be ready until, like, May. And so I will succession sow zinnias and sunflowers after that. But for now, just going to go where we got. And then, of course, the ranunculus bed looking really healthy. Really good. So we are doing our best to kind of maximize production this year, what we can. And I am working with florists this year. So again, if you're local to Central Virginia, between like Richmond, Lynchburg, Charlottesville, I am open for delivering flowers. I'm gonna walk down to the Hightunnel. So we got our raised beds mostly done. We've got 2 more that need to be built and brought down. But I think what we have decided to do is we have to kind of scrape and tidy up this. And so all of the soil is going to come up here. It's going to get leveled. And then we'll put the other 2 up there. And I came this weekend and I just put in, oh God, almost looks like something tore it up. I have some tarragon right there. And I just put in little Tulsi plants in places where I could. Oh, these got frostbitten. That's not good. But we filled these with logs. So that's done. They need a layer of leaves and then soil on top. This one just needs the soil that goes on top of there. So we're doing good there. These beds over here, these in-ground beds, again, I've got a lot to finish, but when I have work weeks that are just insane, I took some time off this week, so that's why I'm able to kind of do a little bit. But there was buckwheat that came up in this bed. And so the fact that it died, like, I don't really care. These are going to be my herb beds, this, and then the front part of this. And I want herbs to just grow and go wild. These are kind of my tea garden thing up here, but these trees fully leaf out, and then it's pretty shady over here most of the day, except for like the very first part of the morning. It's pretty overcast today, so that's why it doesn't look like it, but I just threw in like lemon balm. I threw in, lemon balm, anise, hyssop, thyme. I threw in just a bunch of stuff. I've got a yarrow here, which is also popping up in other places in the garden, so I'm not worried about having a shortage of that. We've got lettuces and the pea tendrils, obviously, but man, some stuff that looks like got pretty cold last night, because I came over here and this stuff wasn't frost damaged like that. So that's interesting. It must have gotten pretty chilly last night, which makes me a little bit worried because I've got peppers in the Hightunnel and I did not close it because it said it was getting down to 45 degrees, and I thought they can survive one night of 45, and it was going to be pretty warm today. Although I was not expecting it to be this overcast. So that's kind of interesting. But I have dill growing here. These are the mix of the Vates collards and arugula. More Vates collards and arugula. Calendula there. French breakfast radishes that I think it's probably a mouse is coming in and kind of chomping on the tops of these. So we'll see how those do. And then that is all arugula. I think, things like cilantro, arugula. I haven't had the rabbits or the mice mess with that stuff too much, and I think because it's like spicy, they don't love it, which is kind of interesting. But all right, so tomorrow is our first CSA box. This is our first week, so we've got some beautiful, very healthy rutabagas that are going in the CSA box. I've got a lettuce over there. Of course, we'll do cilantro, lettuces, arugula, almost ready. I'm going to let it go. Our neighbors that are partnering with us for this, they do salad greens. They do them beautifully. And so I'm just going to get salad greens from them for the CSA. But we wanted to include a lot of different farmers and stuff. So my task this morning is to water in here. These are tall top beets that are finally look like they're taking off. So these are supposed to be 60 day. I planted these March 2nd. So May 2nd technically would be when they are ready to go. And so I think these will be ready to go by then. I'm pretty confident. So random cilantro growing in there. And then these are our French breakfast radishes. And they are small, but, again, we'll harvest some for the box. This one's just kind of on the side. I'm going to wash this one off and taste it just because I'm curious to see. I love radishes. I love spicy stuff. We've got bumblebees on our broccoli already. It's got a little dirt on it, but you know what, y'all? A little dirt never hurt nobody. Oh my gosh. They are sweet. So delicious. You can eat the greens also. They're really good for you. And those taste amazing. So, these French breakfast radishes will go in our CSA box. We got lettuces coming up here. And then kale. I planted peppers the other day. These ones are the shishito peppers. These little ones over here on the other side are chiltepins, and they're, I think, a smaller pepper plant, but they seem to be a little bit more sensitive to the cold, so we'll see how that goes. I've got some brassicas coming up in here, and to be honest with you, I don't know what those are. I think that they might be cauliflower, but, and the cilantro. My guess is that it is going to get way too hot in here for those to continue to grow, so we'll probably use them. But the logic behind the in-ground beds up here was so that I could plant things like kales and spinach and lettuces a little later in the season and have them go, and hopefully they would make it until like June before they all went to seed. The other thing I need to start, which my plan was just to direct sow them. I have some slow bolt lettuces that are more made for warmer temps now. Lettuce is a cool weather vegetable. They do not like hot temps, but there are some varieties that are more slow bolting. You know, they won't like poop out on you in mid-May when it gets to be like 80 degrees on a regular basis, especially in the shade. They don't need a ton of sun. That is also where I plan to grow like basil and things like that, because again, it really does not prefer the hot sun that like those raised beds up there will get most of the day. So, but pretty much what we got growing here, y'all. I have so many seeds started at the house. I actually need to plant out the tomatoes because they're really starting to look like they don't want to be in their containers anymore. And I was hoping for kind of a long row where I could just put all of the like peppers and tomatoes in here, but most of the tomatoes are going to go out in the raised beds up there. But you know, like we've kind of piecemealed stuff, and I wanted to allow those to go to seed, the broccolis, so that I could save seeds and didn't have to buy seeds for the fall. I have saved brassica seeds. It's really, really easy. They're like a pod. You let it get really dry, you take them off, and then you can kind of shake them out and the seeds come out. You know, they're small, but they're not small like a poppy seed. At least they're a little bit bigger and easier to look at. So we'll see how long my patience lasts with the stuff that's in here. But that's what we got going, guys. That's our little short and sweet garden tour for today, and that was covering all 3 gardens. So hopefully here in a couple weeks we've got a lot more going on. We've got plenty of water in the tanks, and I got to get to watering because I do have a little bit of work that I have to get done today. So thanks so much for watching, y'all, and we'll catch you on the next one.